broke my toy. Broke my plow. That's not how it's supposed to look. It ripped right here and folded around. So that's pretty crappy. I was gonna make a video this morning swapping over the V-blade to the single share, or the middle buster, over to a single plowshare. But it was just 2 bolts, so I was like, well, that's not that much for video. But now we got some video because now we broke. So I guess I'm gonna go get the double middle buster. There it is. And put it back on. I kind of wanted to do a one-sided plow. I'm trying to prep some area for the garden, and I wanted to actually turn it over and turn it, actually flip the dirt. Now I'm gonna just kind of churn it all up. I used that middle buster last spring when I plowed up where that garden is at, and I didn't really care for it because it was, you'd cut a deep furrow and it flipped dirt to both sides, but then it seemed like it was hard to get right beside that furrow and cut again. Maybe I just don't know how to use a middle buster well enough. Excuse me. Anyway, I guess that's my only option now. Let's put it back on. First, see if I can even get this one off. Hopefully the bolt isn't somehow busted in there. I'll get this one off, get the dual back on, and see what I can do with it. Alright, well, we got the middle buster back on. And it is automatically, it's thicker metal than this single share. But I mean, this thing, that's just garbage. It just ripped right down. Garbage. That really aggravates me. Oh well, probably wasn't too expensive. I didn't pay for it. Came with the tractor. But anyway, got the double back on. Let's go see what we can do with it. Well, this was my plan for today. Well, this wasn't really my plan. It became my plan. My plan was to shuttle home a bunch of cow manure from the neighbor's place over yonder. And talked to him this morning. He left me the key so that I could accomplish that. Then I gave the key to my wife to take to town and make a copy because I thought she was making a quick round of town. And that was 4 hours ago. So I locked myself out. Can't haul any manure home. So instead I'm taking what I had in my stockpile there and I'm starting to spread it out to build up these earthen raised beds. This is by no means perfect. I mean, if we look down the row, you guys can see they're a little fat, they're a little thin, they're high, they're low, whatever. They will shape up better with time. I'm just kind of getting the rough idea here. The stuff is real wet still. It's goopy. It's got a lot of big clumps in it, and as it dries out, it'll break down a lot. It's really, really good soil. I made a video about when I was getting it earlier this summer, and it was it was dry back then. Now it's kind of wet and goopy. So it's kind of hard to work with today. This is where I was plowing. I was trying to plow because this subsoil that I have, it has a lot of clay in it, and it packs real hard. So I thought, well, let me go through and bust it all with the plow, and then I'll build my raised beds on top of that. That way at least it's loosened up a little bit. But there was a wet spot down there, and it turned into a goopy, nasty mess. And then, of course, running back and forth over with the tractor each time you plow it, you pretty much just recompact it. So I said, you know what, the hell with it. I'm just going to build my earthen raised beds. Over the years, the plant roots getting down in it, we'll loosen it up. I can broad fork it, whatever. But trying to run back and forth across it with the tractor to loosen it up just isn't working. Anyway, I've got a little bit of stockpile left there. Maybe enough to finish out this row, but I don't know that I'm going to. It's getting to where the pile's so small that it's harder to pick it up with the tractor than it is to actually get a decent bucket full. So I think I'm just going to pick up my tools, pick up all this wad of strings. That's all hay string that I pulled out, and there's still lots more in here. That's the only downside to this stuff is it's full of hay strings, but the more you work it, they come out easier and easier, and it cleans up pretty good. So anyway, building some earthen raised beds, trying to get some space made up and marked out and ready for a bigger garden. So I just borrowed this tiller from my father-in-law, and I'm happy I didn't rent it because so far I'm a little mixed emotion, not real happy with it. See, I had big plans, got my tripod set up. I was gonna show you guys all how great this was gonna work. My plan was I had formed up these beds and they still got a lot of just blocky clob material like that in them. You can see it breaks up real easy by hand, but I thought, well, why don't I go get the tiller and I'll just run through them with the tiller, keep my beds shaped the way they were. I'll just run through it with the tiller. Well, that didn't work worth a hoot, because that tiller's got a big, well, I'll show you. It's got this kind of skid plate up under the front right there, and this big counterweight on the front. And first, as soon as I tried to go onto a bed, that big weight up front just bellied out because it, the bed's elevated. The weight in the skid plate just bellied out, so I couldn't even get it up onto the bed. Well, then once I did, it's got a real narrow wheelbase and it's real top heavy with the engine up top, so it just wanted to fall off the side. It kept wanting to fall back down into the row. So I finally, or into the walkway. So finally I just said, the heck with it. There's no way I'm gonna stay up on top of these rows. I couldn't fight the thing even trying. So I just kind of let it go wherever it wanted to go. And it made a mess of my hills. There's so much trash in this manure. I've told you guys that. It made a mess of my hills for what it's worth. But that's fine. I'll rake them back up, because really they were, this one over here, this was way too high, this was too thin. So I figured, what the heck, just level it all out as best you want. And I'll just rake it back up later to reshape the beds, because there was no way I was keeping them shaped the way they were anyway. But I think I did find the right application for the tiller. What I was wanting to do with it was just skim across the top and not actually mix any of this harder subsoil in with my cow manure. Like I said, that wasn't happening. That's what I wanted to do, was just go across the top and keep the two separate, but stir the cow manure. But what I think is actually going to work better was, I told you guys, I came out here, I tried to plow, and it just made a complete mess. You can still see, which it was a little wet, but you can see the tracks everywhere because this soil is very much clay. So it was wet, it was gooey, I got some ruts down there I made. And so just as soon as you plow it, I mean, this was plowed just the other day, and it's just hard pack again. So plowing and disking doesn't really do any good. Tilling doesn't necessarily do any good either, but this now gives me a way to do till a small area without the impact of the tractor. So basically I can make 3 or 4 passes with the tiller. I'll set it as deep as it can go, which is, well, let's see here, 4 or 5 inches, maybe 4 inches. I'll set it as deep as it'll till, just to break up this subsoil. And I've mentioned this before, I'll say it again. My plan here is not really to grow in this soil. I'm growing in that soil. This is just more root space, water retention, whatever. Over the years, this will improve as the roots work down in it, and the compost and everything else kind of integrates with it. But for right now, it's total garbage. But still, if I can get it broken up and then immediately cover it with the compost so that it doesn't get baked by the sun and packed back down by the rain right away, that'll be a big advantage versus just trying to spread compost right over this hard packed dirt. So I have found the application. We've come to terms. There was some cussing and some name calling early on, but we're becoming friends, I hope. So I'm gonna try to run a little bit more, maybe not, because I really don't want to till up a whole bunch now and then have it rain overnight or something and lose it all. So I really don't want to till anymore until I'm ready to put compost on it right away. I'll tell you what I'll do. See, some of these, there's a pretty big rut here. Y'all can't really see it, but there's an 8 to 10 inch depression right here. I'm gonna go back and forth over it and just try to break some of that stuff down. And like those ruts down there that I actually cut, gonna try to smooth those out a little bit. But I'm not gonna spread any compost tonight. It's just not in the cards. So I'm just gonna play with it a little bit more while I can. Like I said, try to fix those. But then I won't till anymore until I'm ready to put compost on it immediately. That's the plan for now. Well, here's what I expected, but didn't fully anticipate. I knew I'd pick up some strings. I had no idea it'd be that bad. I've gone through this stuff, as I move it and spread it, every chance I get I pull out strings, and there's lots in there. But this sucker got wound up. I've been working on it for about an hour now, laying down here on the ground trying to pull out bits and pieces, and it's just driving me nuts. I'm gonna try to see, I'm done fighting with it for today. I'm gonna try to see if tomorrow maybe I can take the shields off and just pull the tines off, get them out in the open where I can work on them, and it'll be a little easier. But man, this stuff just gets wound up, knotted up so fast you wouldn't even believe. And it doesn't really bog the tiller down, but it doesn't ever get any better. So eventually you gotta stop and clean it out, because eventually it will bog the tiller down, or it'll just get so full the tines can't dig. So I've got this little pile here. This is what I've managed to rake out of it. And it hasn't been an hour. Maybe it's been 30 or 40 minutes. I don't know. I've lost track. But enough to drive you nuts. I mean, here's a dang rag that I picked up, scrap of a towel, and that's just an issue with my neighbor. He just throws trash on the ground. That's how it is. I guess that makes him trashy. Just throws trash on the ground all over the place. He literally throws down plastic bottles as like fill in a mud hole. He'll just throw bottles and trash in there to try to fill in a wet spot. Anyway, yeah, this sucks. But plan is still the same as I told you. Till deep, cover with compost. I'll try to do more of that when I get this stupid thing unplugged.